Thinking about the trajectory analysis, you were thinking, at least initially, about the vertical plane, that is to say, up and down on the trajectory, how high the gun was at the time it was fired, right?
Yes.
Now, you also could have done a trajectory analysis had you chosen to in the horizontal direction, that is to say, from side to side to determine whether, for example, the gun that was fired the bullet into the tire and through the bumper had come from the fence up against the houses or over against this fence on the right, right?
Well, I couldn't do it because I couldn't get two fixed points.
You couldn't get two fixed points because there was a wobble, right? Because of this wobble, this 2-degree differential, right?
Right, because of the way that the one went through the tire.
Right, and the 2-degree differential meant that you have the rod through the hole in the bumper, right?
Right.
And then the inner side of the rod is up against the tire or in the hole of the tire, right?
Right.
Okay, and then you have some movement back and forth of the rod side to side, right?
Right.
Now, if you had chosen to, you could have pushed the rod as far to the right as you could have pushed it, and then done an analysis of the trajectory from there, right?
It wouldn't have been accurate.
You could have done that, right?
I guess I could have did it, but it wouldn't have been accurate.
And you could have done it the same way to the left, right? As
Yeah,
far as you could, right?
But I'm manipulating it, so it's not accurate.
You're doing it to the extent of the margin of error in your analysis, right?
Correct.
All right. And the margin of error in your analysis you calculated as 2 degrees plus or minus, right?
No, that's the difference I noted just from changing with the angle meter on it. I probably could have taken it and just, you know, if I wanted to really push it, I probably could have pushed it. I just noted that when we had the rod in the tire, depending on where we put it, it would go up and down 2 degrees.
Okay.
So I didn't take it and go actually manually manipulate and force it up and then grab the front of it. I'm just noting what...
Understood. You noted that the rod would go up and down 2 degrees, right?
Yes.
And the degree of movement side to side is less than 2 degrees, plus or minus, right?
I don't specifically recall what that
You
was.
didn't make any notation of any differential in terms of the side to side movement, right?
No.
Now, in terms of 2 degrees plus or minus, I'm putting Exhibit 20 up in front of the jury. You recognize this as the drawing done by the forensic mapping personnel out at the scene that day?
Yes.
And do you know the distance from the front bumper to the blood spot?
Off the top of my head, no.
One could figure it out by measuring and using the key on the bottom, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is pre-marked over lunch. You could measure out 100 feet off the key, right?
Yes.
And then you could measure out each one of these as 10 feet, right?
If that's what the scale says, I can't see the scale.
You want to step down? Just confirm that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can retake the stand. So with my crude measurement here, my crude measuring tool, measured off of this scale, I can place it here, front bumper of the tire, and I can see that the blood spot is approximately 117 feet. Would that be an appropriate way of measuring the distance off of this drawing?
Yes.
All right. And I can also determine that the distance to the barrel from the front bumper, if I line it up correctly, is roughly 138 feet. Would that be an appropriate way of doing the measurement?
Yes.
plus or minus 2 degrees in the horizontal direction, if it's that much in the horizontal direction, given the play in the rod, means, in terms of a differential trajectory, out 117 feet at the blood spot?
Off the top of my head, no.
You could do that calculation, right?
Could.
But you didn't.
I did.
And do you know what the differential is at 138 feet?
No.
So when you were deciding not to do a trajectory analysis, you did not calculate what the potential margin of error was out at the distances that that bullet may have been fired from, right?
I couldn't define what it, there was so many variables involved that I didn't think it was reliable at all. That's why I decided not to do it. You have to have reliability in what you're seeing and be able to reproduce it. We wouldn't be able to reproduce it. It was just that there's so much variation involved. You need 2 fixed points. I didn't have 2 fixed points. There was a lot of, to me, it was a lot of guesswork.
You had 2 points that varied, that you could get movement out of plus or minus 2 degrees, right?
Right, but then I have to manipulate it.
All right.